think you say, ew, gross, because Rusty loves me. Ew, gross.
What's up, y'all? Let's turn up right here. Let's go.
Alrighty. What's up, boys? How we motherfucking doing? Coming off a big trip. Gross Hockey's first Odyssey. That's what I posted about. Um, yeah, I mean, we haven't talked it on here in a little bit. Obviously, we haven't talked even since the Hurricanes won the cup. So we can get into a ton of stuff like we just talked about before we hit record. I mean, Brady Tkachuk was traded, obviously, and there's been a few other trades today, but I don't know, guy. I mean, I'm with JB, I'm with Jake. One of you guys, you want to tell me where you want to start here?
Let's start with your guys' your trip. Tell some stories. I know we talked on the phone a little bit and you guys had some good stories to tell. You guys had an absolute time down there, so let's hear some stories.
Yeah, I mean, fuck it. Like you said, you probably know pretty much everything, but I mean, we didn't get into maybe some details and we could think of. But JB, I mean, what about you? What do you think like the highlight for you? Maybe not even like good highlight, but just like, something that happened
Yeah,
that's
I
worth
think,
talking about.
yeah, I mean, obviously, a good highlight was, I think, just meeting the people. Honestly, felt like just made a bunch of friends, and it was pretty organic, which was great. But I think probably the best feeling was just getting to North Carolina. Felt like that drive just felt a lot longer going there. Hit some traffic in like New York, which obviously is always tough, but and then we hit that road right before you get into North Carolina, or maybe at the beginning of North Carolina. That was absolutely insane. And it
Yeah.
just felt like we were fighting it. We kept kind of talking about it kind of during the ride there, the resistance factor. And it felt like the closer we were getting and the time was going down on the maps, it just felt like more stuff was being thrown at us. Um, we talked about it to Jake when we got him on the phone, but I mean, the biggest one was when we got there. Just finally see the city. You start to have that feeling of, all right, we made it. Looking forward to a long drive, and I mean, it was pretty quickly ripped out from under us. I think we got off of the highway and saw a correction facility, which didn't give us the best feeling off the rip, and then just the place we rented or pulled into wasn't the greatest spot. So you can take it over from there. We'll keep going kind of back and forth, but yeah, pulling into that parking lot, I still have that feeling.
Yeah, yeah, no. I mean, it really was just it was very memorable, right? Because number one being we drove. So like we last minute, obviously anyone who's listening to this knows like who somewhat of who we are and what we do. And, we're building something on here. We don't exactly know where it's all going to end, but one of the things we do is these hats. And so we last minute made, these Hurricane Stanley hats and had them all made and then just were like, fuck it, let's drive down. So JB and I were able to just because of our flexible flexible schedules. And Jake wasn't able to, unfortunately. But yeah, we drove 16 hours that first day. It was a long drive. We had a good time. I mean, we were yapping, just shooting the shit. I think we talked, I don't think we had anything left to talk about for the ride back eventually. Um,
Just
but
talking to stay awake.
yeah, yeah, we were both running on very little sleep and yeah, we left in the morning. We got there at 10 p.m. Like you said, there was a memorable part about getting on that road where, especially after like being on the road for like 13, 14, 15 hours, and then we get on this main road that's like goes 70 miles an hour. It's pitch black out at night at this point, and then there's all of a sudden like it felt like it was hailing. It was at least just downpouring out of the blue. And I'm barely like can keep my eyes open just from a lack of sleep and just being in a car for that long. And then you're on this road. People, JB described it as leapfrog because it did just feel like every car would like fly by you one way and then someone would pass them. And it was just, it was a lot. And we talked about it after. I think there was a few things that felt like more than they were just because we were probably delirious actually by the end of it. Um, I know I didn't sleep literally a wink, and that's pretty dumb to then be in a car for like the entire day. But yeah, so then we got there and we I had booked this Airbnb that in hindsight I regretted just based on everything. And it was in a pretty sketchy area, like you said. We passed the correctional office and I was kind of like, nah, don't worry about it. And then, we're pulled into the place 2 minutes later. And there was even just a few weird things like just kind of in that area. Like we could tell it wasn't great. And then we get in, it was kind of an eerie vibe in there. It was freezing. And JB was you were kind of just like, we don't need this, right? Like we don't deserve this at the end.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was the best way to put it, to be honest with you. Like,
Yeah.
just that long of a drive and the whole time, like, especially as, like I said, the time was starting to dwindle down. You're looking forward to finally getting to the spot and starting the weekend. And I think that was like the polar opposite of what we wanted to see. And I think we were on different spots too, because obviously you had booked it, kind of saw some of it beforehand. And obviously for both of us, I mean, there was an investment there. Like you spend money. It's like the same thing with a hotel room. You're spending money to stay there for the weekend, and you don't really want to now be in a situation where you got to try to figure something else out. So I think that that's a funny portion of this whole thing too, because I would say it took me maybe 2 minutes of being like, I'm like, whether you're coming with me or you're
Yeah.
not, I'm out of here. I'm
Yeah.
not, I'll take an Uber elsewhere and stay in the city. But, and
Yeah.
you were definitely trying to sell me on even just that first night. Like, it is what it is. We're already here. Like you said, we're probably delirious. It probably isn't as bad as we think it is. And it was just funny. As soon I saw something where we were talking, and I saw something like just move like very quickly on the floor, and I was like, it could have been a floater. I'm like, I don't know what I'm seeing. And I was like, dude, there's something over there. And I looked behind the couch, and I'm like, it looks like a cockroach. And then we kind of lost it for a second, which that's pretty scary in itself. It's like right before you go to bed and you see a spider or something, you're like, oh, swallow that in the middle of the night. But so I ended up lifting up the couch. You were able to get a pretty solid video of it. But I would say as soon as we saw that, we were same page, same book, just
Yeah.
ready to figure out the next step to get a hotel or whatever. But that was pretty much what I
Yeah.
think that was the worst that it got. In the moment, I thought you made a good kind of remark of like, it's honestly a good way that this started off the trip, just because like it really is only up from here
Mm.
after that drive, and then dealing with all that stuff and the headache of it. We were able to get into a hotel, and it definitely went up from there.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, I think I've heard somewhere that if you go on a trip and it starts off where like weird bad things like happen where you're just like this is a shit show, that those trips end up being the best trips. I don't know where I heard that, but um it just felt crazy and like you said, I kind of wanted not wanted to stay. My big thing in that conversation with you was like let's not do anything rash because, it's $450. We're both not like, we're not, despite what you maybe think, we're both not balling it that hard, but just not to lose it. I just kind of wanted to like think of a strategy of how we're gonna get out. I was trying to tell you the whole time, you'll remember, like I was like, I don't want to stay either. I feel like we should think about how we're gonna do it or whatever. And then that was when you saw the cockroach, and that was the sign from the universe that we had like a real valid reason instead of just being two white kids from Massachusetts, homely towns being like, I don't feel safe here. So yeah, then we got a hotel and everything seemed like it was, well, actually, just getting the hotel was kind of a process in itself, right? I mean, with that truck, and that's where I think maybe some of the things, because I was going on zero sleep, like I was just overstimulated, I was exhausted, I was done. But at one point, a truck was just burning rubber. We could hear from 2 streets away, and we're looking at each other in the car like we don't know where we are. We're trying to call hotels and figure all this, whatever we're gonna do out, and we just hear this truck flying, and I look behind me, and it just felt like out of a horror movie where you look like, and like the villain is just coming for you, like, and who knows how like legitimate that was or if it was just illusion, but I like pulled to the side, so it was just so much. And anyway, all of that aside, then we finally, we got to the hotel, and it was fucking really, it was a great trip from there. I mean, we just met so many, like you said at the beginning, we just met so many cool people. I mean, shout out to Cam and Bryce, right? And Chris and his wife as well, like the Stanley Bullet, just an absolute legend. Yeah, and then meeting Stankoven, even just for a few minutes, kind of talking to him, getting some flicks with him and Jarvis. I kept saying Jarvis wearing the hats and stuff, and everyone we met, and just yeah, it was cool. It was a great time. I don't really know if there's too much else to talk about. I don't want to like drag it out too much, but
Yeah, no, I think you hit most of the important stuff. A lot of good people. I feel like we kept saying like just it was so puck don't lie, like the way that it all started and then the way it played out. Just a
oh,
bunch of good people, and um I just felt like kept getting better and better, and kept kind of finding ourselves like we might have to move the non-existent gross office that we have now.
mm.
We might have to move that to North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean Friday in particular was just so sick. But Jake, so this kid Cam, right? He has this. Did you see the kid wearing the Canes gown?
Yeah.
So that's just his thing, and I guess he really is like he's kind of a local legend. He hates to admit it, but this guy was noticed by everybody, and he was just the nicest dude, biggest Canes fan, and he got Stankoven like the I just posted Hurricane Stanley again with some new pictures. The last slide is a great picture of Stankoven wearing the gown and the hat. He got him a custom gown, and he's up on stage like hugging this kid, the Stanley Bullet on Instagram. But we met them right away, and his last name is Gross. So it's like I feel like there's like 6 people who now follow the account whose last name is Gross, which is just we're like I always love to follow people back when I see that. But he just saw it randomly on Instagram and was like, "Oh, like whatever." And it was just, yeah, it was just wild. He was a great person to meet. Him and everyone kind of he was with, they welcomed us in, and that was huge because we didn't know anybody. So to go down there and try to like accomplish something like that, you had to be with the locals. You kind of had to, put yourself in that. Um, yeah. So, I mean, outside of that, I don't want to ramble on that too much longer. The NHL is in a wild place. It seems like today we're recording on Tuesday. It seems like especially today, there's just been a couple like crack level of random deals. I guess people kind of wait not too long anymore, and obviously headlined by Brady Tkachuk. So. We could talk about that. I mean, I know we all probably have a similar view on it, but Jake, I haven't heard your voice in a little bit. So, I mean, where were you? Because you actually broke it to us. We were in the car and you sent it over. Where were you and what were your kind of like initial thoughts when you heard about that?
Yeah, I was at my sister's. We were having like a little Father's Day thing. And yeah, I mean, my reaction was just like, fuck, like we're fucked. We're all fucked.
Yeah.
But I mean, say what you want about Florida, but that's like pretty cool to see them play together. I mean, I think we kind of knew but didn't know it was going to happen eventually. Like, not surprising at all. Like, we knew Brady was going to leave at some point. Did we know it was going to be Florida? No, but we knew there's a really good chance. Somehow they made it fucking happen. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Ito's a fucking genius.
I mean, Yeah, that one he didn't even really have to, right? It's just like I think Brady's just in a spot where he doesn't want to wait anymore. Like it's like why waste time? Like why wait till he's at the end of his deal? If he's
Yeah.
done, he's done. And I think he was kind of over slotted where he was in Ottawa. Like captain is one thing, but I don't know. He's probably better suited to be like, more of a secondary piece and a team that has more. I think Ottawa was a young team. They're getting better, but I think they were a little bit of a ways away and in a different tier than these other teams. And you kind of look at it like either we hope to bring new players here or, there's also the fact of like where he's living. He's in fucking Ottawa. He's a huge American pride guy, just won. Um, and yeah, it's like I could go live in a house right next to my brother in Fort Lauderdale on the water and win a Stanley Cup. Like, or I can stay in Ottawa and keep hearing shit every other day about how I want to leave. It's like, yeah, I want to fucking leave.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think the projected line right now is Tkachuk, Bennett, Tkachuk.
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous.
It's fucked. And the top line, you got what for Hagee, Reinhart, and Barkov.
Yep.
Third line is E2 Luosterainen, Anton Lundell, and Brad Marchand.
Yeah, it's
Doesn't
crazy.
matter who else you have. They also have a stacked decor. The only thing with them now is just they don't have a goalie. Like the Bobrovsky seems like he wants years and money, whereas I think Zito is looking at it a little bit like, come on, man, like we don't want to fuck ourselves here by paying you. Like you've been making 10 million a year every year, and you were kind of overpaid for some of those years. So it'll be interesting what they do in net because you could find a cheap goalie, but it's a risk too, right? They've had a safe option with him.
Yeah. It's funny because they had Bussy and waived him.
Yeah, I actually heard the Chicklets today. Dundon, the owner, came on. Apparently, he's very involved, but he was talking about picking him up and just how like that was I highly recommend listening to that. They all had like a glass of wine. It was at the end of the podcast they dropped today, and he was getting pretty like into the details about uh, just the run they've been on and since he's bought it. He bought it for 430 million and 8 years ago. It's crazy thinking about just like what it's worth now and what teams are paying to expand now, you know?
Yeah, they just announced today that Dallas or not Dallas,
Houston.
Austin, Houston, I think the buy-in is like 3.5 billion.
Yeah. So you're talking about a jump of what? If that was almost 500 million, that's times six and a half times 8 years ago is worth. It's crazy the growth.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, I don't know if there's too much more in Florida. Like it makes sense. Like I've been on the side of I want guys to control their destiny like a lot, honestly. Obviously this hurts us, like we're Bruins fans, but it's like, I don't know, what am I gonna do? Bitch about it? Like I get it. If I was Brady Tkachuk, I'd probably want to do the same fucking thing.
I
And
think I see both sides of it because I think like it's hard to not being a fan of
yeah,
like that organization. I think if you're an Ottawa fan, you are looking at that differently. Like I was
for
reading a
sure.
bunch of the comments, and it's just like like obviously comes in as a young player. They draft him. They try to help him like develop into kind of who he's become. Plays there 8 years, starting to get into that window where it's really like his prime and whatever. And yeah, I mean, I guess the counter part of that is that at this point they should be probably further along with that team and being able to say that they could go on an actual run and they're not. But it is hard when you look at it like that. Like they have him for 8 years. They help him develop and get to a point where now they're finally make the playoffs, and now you lose that guy. So I see both sides of it. I definitely like you can understand why he'd want to go live in Florida. They both have young kids. I mean, why would you not want to live and play with your brother? But it's
Yeah.
just it's like we were talking about it on the car ride. I feel like the way that the NHL is changing, and then also the talk with kind of where the NBA is at. And I mean, like it was already starting to like pick up, but I mean, it seems like now it's just like with that move that sped up the process even more.
Yeah. I mean, I think those two are kind of what would you call it? pioneers of the new era a little bit. Maybe not pioneer because it's already hockey's been a thing, but just like they break the mold. Like they're not afraid like to kind of be the face of the new thing. And it's cool when you think about what the USA hockey team, like I know people are pissed about it, but I think the biggest thing I feel like just from an outside point of view is if it's one thing if kids are doing that like what Lindros did when he got drafted. Like he gets drafted to a team and he's like, I'm not going. It's like, buddy, shut up. But when you earn your stripes, I think like you know GMs and teams have pigeon tossed guys because they're no longer worth. Like they don't, they just don't want them anymore. Throw them away like the Toy Story movie, like the toys that you don't want to play with anymore. They just toss away, and um, I think that it's time the NHL players who really drive like the the fans, like it's reliant on the players that they say, hey, you know what, like I put 8 years into this place and I'm not happy anymore. And at the end of the day, it's a job. It's like you get a job as a salesman or as a accountant, whatever it is. Like if people want to move to Florida, they just do it. Like if they can find a job. And if you're good at your job and you can do that, like Brady Tkachuk, then fuck it. Like, I think he deserves to be able to do what he wants. And as for like the advantages, it's true, but it's just the fact that if a GM like Bill Zito, who's been on a fucking tear, has the balls he does and goes all in and is in win now mode, and you're in Florida, you're just gonna benefit from that. And you can't really complain about that. You can't even it out. You might be able to even out the cap situation a little bit and kind of go based on net income, but you can't beat a team that wants to win because Ottawa's not close and he's been there for 8 years. So I mean, what's he supposed to do? Fucking wait till he's 37 just because he got drafted, So yeah, I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts about that situation, but there's been a lot today too, obviously, and probably the last week that we haven't talked.
Yeah, I think you touched on everything I was thinking. We've talked about it before prior to.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, look, dude, fucking Babcock just got hired today, officially. It's been a weird like few weeks with that. We talked about that. It's
Mike
official.
Commodore is pissed.
Yeah.
Saw
Yeah.
him tweeting a little bit today.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just like the fact they did that. McDavid and Draisaitl were on board.
Yeah, a little confusing, but we'll see how it plays
Oh,
out.
fuck, dude. I got some muffins in the oven, boys. And I've
Oh,
been running. I've been running. All right, you guys go. I'll be right back.
this fucking guy, bro.
He's got to go get his muffins. Yeah, that was pretty nuts that McDavid and Draisaitl were both on that but I did hear something too where it's just like those type of players aren't getting affected really by Babcock in his ways.
Yeah,
He's not going to walk into that locker room and drill Connor McDavid. It's going to be the guys fighting for a job or even the third line.
yeah. I don't know. I don't like the move.
Yeah, I don't agree with it. I mean, personally, I think, like I said, I don't agree with it pretty much at all. But I think it just seems like Edmonton is just kind of like spiraling, in a sense of, like, I think everyone knows that if they don't make something happen, like, is McDavid staying? If there isn't like a light that becomes visible at the end of the tunnel.
I don't know because I've heard so many different things. I feel like one week I'm hearing he's gone. Next week I'm hearing, oh, he's staying. It's like, okay, I guess time
Because
will
I don't
tell
even
kind
get
of thing.
I don't even get the goaltending move last year.
For Jari.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, I
like,
mean it's just another like botched attempt. Like, I mean the idea was there, but
yeah, no, I guess so, but it's just like, it is just insane. It's like if they can't get this on the tracks here soon, because it's the effect too of McDavid ends up looking elsewhere. I mean, Draisaitl's locked up, but like he's not as soon as he gets a sniff that McDavid's out, he's going to be looking to get out.
Yeah.
So it's just like they're in a tough spot.
Yeah, and you know what I've like oh oh boy. I think we got another trade
I saw before
trade
we
coming
hopped
in.
on.
Not confirmed yet, but the Sabres just acquired the fourth overall pick for Bowen Byram.
Yeah, I saw that as we got on. I didn't know what the return was, but I saw that Byram was going to Chicago. So Chicago has fourth.
They have fourth.
Okay. What was the other part of that?
It was Bowen Byram for the fourth, it looks like. 1 for 1, I believe.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm was very surprised to see that they wanted to move him. I thought he was excellent in the playoffs.
I did too, but I did see some things about his underlying numbers like all year. And maybe he just kind of like he really scored and he did look really good, but maybe they decided their other guys, I don't know, they wanted to build around and acquire different things, but
Yeah.
they are
Chicklets
gonna
was talking about it too, about how like going into this, there had been, or going into the playoffs, there had been a lot of talk about Owen Powers and like just what his game is about, and if he's ever going to be able to really like develop into the defenseman that they thought they had. And then in the playoffs, he played really well. So it seems like that I don't know what his contract is or what he's on right now, but I mean they have some solid D on that left side. That it is tough. Like you have Darlene, then you have Powers, so it's like.
You have 3 top 5 picks.
And like we were talking about, I think this was probably a while back. I think Jake had brought it up about this draft year, and like there seemed to be a lot of good defensemen. So if you're able to get like a right shot, like isn't Reed a right shot?
Keaton
Reed's a right shot. I think he's going to be gone by 4, though.
and
Yeah.
Keaton Verhoff, who was on the Chicklets podcast today, who seems like just I don't know, I haven't really watched his film, but I did start like in the last day listening to some draft stuff just because it's cool that it's coming up this week. I didn't realize that until we were talking Jake on the phone, but um, looking into some guys who are 23 for the Bruins. But yeah, I mean that's wild that they just swung and did that because they must really just be taking maybe a little bit of like they're being patient here and
Oh, there's more. Another pick and another player
okay.
going to Buffalo as well, or
It
going to
also
Chicago as well.
makes you think maybe does that mean they're trying to keep Tuck or
Maybe, yeah.
because they're moving out how much money was he making?
I'm not sure.
Byram.
Interesting.
I don't
I
know
love
either.
I love the trades, dude. There's so many.
I know. It is
So
that
exciting.
I forgot how fun it is fun to be an NHL fan in the summer when there's activity and when your team has draft picks because like they'll make trades, they will do things, and they also are going to select probably more players. But for a while, the draft just didn't matter for the Bruins because they'd have like a late first or nothing for like 2 rounds. So, um, but yeah, I don't know what you guys were talking about when I walked away, but my muffins are cooked. They're burned. I think they're supposed to be in there for 12, 13 minutes. It's been like an hour. So.
Yikes! You got some hockey pucks now.
Yeah, yeah, that's disappointing, boys, because I was excited about those things. I thought I set a fucking timer. I don't know. I don't really. I don't know what happened to that. But um,
Oh, interesting stuff here.
what are the other trades? The other one today was that one for ninth overall with Eklund, and it was like Eklund for ninth overall, pretty much.
Eklund, Sabota, who I love that kid. He plays for BU. He was great in the World Juniors. He's gonna be a to die for bottom 6 guy.
hmm So San Jose has second, ninth, and 27th overall. It makes you think, are they going to trade second now because they got nine and they still have 27, or try to move nine and 27? But for Ottawa on that deal, it's like, that's one of the first, it's probably the highest first you'll have gotten for Brady. And you bring in a guy like one of the things with Carolina that their owner was talking about and kind of what you see with that Stankoven move and taking him in that Rantanen deal. And then you end up getting Keandre Miller with one of the first that you got, and like there was another piece to that deal as well. Oh, Halsey. So like they ended up getting Stankoven, Halsey, and Keandre Miller plus I think another first and a second for Rantanen. And it's like, well, you know, Rantanen's a better player than Stankoven, but is he impacted a team more than all three of those guys, and then potentially what you get for one of those first? So I think when you look at like replacing Darren Radish in Tampa Bay in the aggregate, in terms of, maybe you can get a guy who brings like part of what Radish brought, and then you bring in another guy, and it's a fraction of what the Leafs just paid for 8 more years of Radish at 30.
You're
So,
gonna get Carlson
um, Eric, oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
gone.
yeah. No, yeah, yeah. Tampa, I have heard a lot about that. But it makes you think with Ottawa, like if you can, Brady Tkachuk is like a unicorn, right? But his offense and like overall impact, like you can replace that. But to try to get a guy immediately one for one who replaces that is going to be very difficult. But if you get, this kid Eklund, and then maybe you get like a defenseman into your decor, and maybe a Larkin, like maybe you can create a pretty competitive roster next year. But I don't know if Larkin would go there, but that's just a hypothetical.
So what I think San Jose is gonna do, I think they're gonna take Stenberg unless they get a great offer for some of those picks. They're gonna take Stenberg. They got rid of a left-handed winger. It makes sense because
Yeah,
they have so many forwards.
yeah,
And then
that's
I
true.
think they'll either make a move for a defenseman or they'll take a defenseman at 9. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they took a goalie with that later pick.
Yeah,
Like,
I
think
mean,
about it. They're top. It's hard to pass on Stenberg, especially you just moved Eklund. And then your back end is you really don't have anything back there. Like you got
well,
Dickinson, who's solid. He's a good piece moving forward, but he's not a number one defenseman.
who's the guy they just got? They did just get someone. I thought they were gonna get Spence back, the guy I've been talking about, who's on.
I think they just got Kesselring, but
They
Kesselring's
got
not
Kessel Ring.
a
Yeah, yeah.
top pairing defenseman.
No, yeah, yeah. But I'm just saying they're like, all right, that's one step. Like that's a tiny
Yeah,
little.
no, it was a great move for them.
Yeah, it's just a smart move. But I agree on their D. I mean, for sure, they need. Like that's why a lot of people were thinking Radish, but it might be smart to not go like just spend a bunch of your money. Like they need to build this thing slowly. Like you got Macklin, he's 20. Like fucking take your time, be aggressive. But
Like I think if Verhoff's there, they take Verhoff. I'm not
yeah,
sure he'll go.
yeah.
His stock has slipped a little bit because of his skating.
Okay, yeah.
People put a lot of stock in that, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I
He's got a
mean,
heavy shot back there.
it seems like the draft is very just like there's a lot of guys who could go from like ninth to 27th or whatever. I will say. And I do want to talk to Marcus about this at some point. We agree we're gonna get him on, so it'll be part of this episode when we talk, and maybe we can get more into the draft. But sorry, my voice is cooked from this weekend. But um, I saw some video on that Casey Mutrin. Have you heard of that kid? He's one of the captains of the national development team, or he is the
Yeah, I
captain.
have.
I just saw a few minutes of him playing, but he looked like he could skate. He kind of had some good hockey sense, and he's a pretty big kid as well. Um, so I don't know. That was just one guy that kind of popped out to me. But who knows? The thing is, like, it seems like people have him from like 14 to like 45. It's like you
Yeah,
just
and that seems like it's kind of the whole draft. Like normally you have a pretty good idea of who's going to be available at what positions.
yeah.
I'm seeing because there's one name that I love and I want the Bruins to take him if he's there. That like Xavier Villeneuve kid, he plays in the queue. He just reminds me so much of Lane and Cole Hudson, just dynamic skater. He's a smaller defenseman, but like I'm seeing him at 11, I'm seeing him at 31. Like it's so
Yeah.
mixed. Everybody has different things. So it's going to be interesting, but I think there's a couple people I have my eyes on, and I think at least one of them will be there when Boston makes their pick at 23.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Um,
One of the guys or more than one of them, they said they liked was the Ruck twins. Have you guys heard anything about them?
Not much besides the fact that they're twins, and apparently they've said they want to play together, which I mean, yeah, fuck,
Yeah.
boys, so do we all. But I mean, but no, what about them?
Yeah, that's
Uh,
pretty much it. Like
I
from
heard
what
one was better than the other one, and one was more reliant on playing with him.
exactly. But
Yeah,
I don't, I think it could be something to keep an eye on.
yeah, but let's save some of
Um,
that draft stuff for Marcus, just because we're gonna have him on and chat about that, and it'll probably be mostly you too. Um, but. Yeah, I mean, was there anything else? I mean, in terms of hockey, I mean, first of all, we obviously everyone knows like it's like 2 weeks after the Canes won, but obviously the Canes won. I mean, that was fucking that was cool. I did predict it after game five, which maybe not isn't that impressive, but I put my life savings on it. So yeah, I don't know. Fuck. Is there anything else that we haven't discussed?
um, just want to see where you guys think with the Bruins right now.
Oh yeah, fuck the
If
bees.
there's any moves that you guys, I mean, obviously there's a lot of players on the trade market right now. Anybody you got your eye on, you want them to make a move for? There was a scenario that popped in my head today that I thought was pretty interesting. Wanted to get your guys' opinion on it as well.
Hit us with it.
Would you swap Elias Lindholm for Elias Pettersson?
I mean,
What
I,
type of
I
question is that?
I would shake the GM's hand so fast and I would just pull him and be gone. Yeah, I would definitely do that.
I would go pick up Pedersen, dude. I would drive my vehicle with Mike.
Because Jake, I think a lot of teams are looking at it like if you can get him from 11 and a half to 9.5 and you can put him in a good system, you might be able to get him back to like 100 points. Like I can fix him. I can fix her.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
obviously with that you have to take that contract on though.
no, no, but that's what are you saying? Sorry.
Like you swap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. So instead of paying, think about it. If you did have him retain and you didn't trade Elias Lindholm, you'd be paying Elias Pettersson and Elias Lindholm like $20 million. But if you were able to swap them, then you would be paying Elias Pettersson 11 and a half. And it's like I think that actually kind of makes sense. Like I think that's actually kind of a good thought process in terms of where if the Bruins wanted to do that, maybe it would happen. But the only issue is just that Elias Lindholm would fucking waive his no move clause like a fucking
Yeah,
Paul Revere.
he's already been there also too.
Yeah, yeah. And now they're way worse, so he would never want to do that. But yeah, that's interesting. It is an interesting. I really like in kind of the last thing I said about the Bruins is like I think they need to get creative and to to be to opt for more risk, less safety in what they look for in players and go for, like it sounds simple to just like go for a guy with higher upside, but you know, the Fabian Lysells of the world, those guys like it happens. It's a risk. Like it's a lottery ticket. It's a numbers game. You're gonna miss, and they did. And they also kind of maybe fucked up his development somewhat along the way. But I think in terms of trades and finding situations, like I think they need to go swing somewhere where, especially at the draft, where there's a guy who potentially is going to be an elite top six forward or top four defenseman for you instead of going this route of like, he plays like fucking Andrew Peak. It's like I want less of guys like Andrew Peak. No shade to him, great NHL defenseman, but great defenseman, but in the NHL he's kind of washed. So, I mean, Pedersen's interesting. I also think on defense, like even if you can just find a guy who might be on a cap strict team like Dallas, like I think we've talked about Maverick Bork, or they have Niels Lundqvist, who I've seen a lot of good things about. If you can pry away a guy like that, I think that would be very interesting. I brought up Adam Fox. I don't know if they're going to do that. They might just because the prices are so large now that you're gonna have to like kind of blow, you're gonna have to take a step back as well. You're not able to just really add a crazy player. You're gonna lose somebody, like Jason Robertson. I would love him, but what are they asking? Like, are they saying Geeky, Higgins, and two firsts? Would you guys do that? And then on top of that, pay Robertson 14 million?
No,
Because maybe he can replace, I mean, maybe Geeky and what Higgins can do in 2 years, and one of those first replaces Robertson. Geeky's got 30, 40 goals. Robertson's got what, 50?
I think they both had about the same amount of goals this year.
Yeah, so why the fuck does Robertson want so much money? I mean, I get he's a great player, but like I'm hearing that he's just pushing it, pushing it,
He
like
turned he
Draisaitl
turned
money.
he turned down 12 in Dallas, and he's asking for 14. Well, if you get traded to Ottawa and you ask for 14, you're making less money than you would
Yeah.
getting 12 from Dallas. I don't get that, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he wants to go to Ottawa either. I think he's that's his thing too, is he's trying to go to like good teams and break the bank. And I get the caps going up, but I don't know. Like originally I thought it was that they were not comfortable giving him what Rantanen made. But it's like to hear that he then denies that. It's like it's all leverage, but it's like, I don't know, just you might also be fucking yourself here and pushing yourself out of a good situation if he likes it in Dallas. But
I also don't think you give up Higgins unless you're getting a true number one center.
I agree. Yeah, you got to use that correctly. You don't want to blow that asset that could be, the next really elite player for the Bruins.
So I think right now, first of all, what do you guys Larkin? I know Boston wasn't on his list or anything. Is he a 1C or a 2C? Like on a championship team, I don't think he's necessarily a 1C.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I would probably put him as 2C.
Yeah. So like right now, really the only true 1C out there on the trade market is probably Matthews, right?
Yeah, I mean, I
He's
haven't
not
heard.
necessarily even really
Yeah,
available.
yeah, I
I'm
don't
not
think
saying
he's
you trade
really.
for Matthews. I'm just saying, like,
Mm,
right now, a lot of the centers out there that I'm hearing, like Trocheck, it's like I would stay away from that. You have three Trochecks. You
yeah,
have
exactly.
Fraser Mitten, you have Elias Lindholm, and you have Pavel Zacha. That's
Yeah,
number two centers. You don't need
100%.
four. You don't need another one.
Yeah, I don't
No,
think they do anything down the middle, to be honest with you.
for
I
that
don't.
reason.
Yeah, it's just like it isn't out there right now, and I think you have enough in that room that like they could still add to this team and still be very even more competitive next year. Like you're going into a new season and you can have probably better expectations. Like Fraser Minton now is an NHL centerman. Like there was moments he played, first line minutes with Pasta. He played the second line, so you have that. We still don't really know what to expect from Higgins. Obviously, he skates very well, and I have all the belief in him that he's going to turn out to be a good NHL player, but you don't know yet. Pavel Zacha, I mean, he's another one, right? Like he's one of your only real trade assets, him, Geeky, but it's just like he provided a lot for this team anyways. He had one of his best seasons ever. Whether he's completely at his ceiling or if you can squeeze a little bit more out of him. I mean, I still think he's a great player in the sense of he's a 200-foot player, and the Bruins did that for many years. Like you look back at especially like Bergie, like he wasn't the flashiest, greatest like center offensively, but I mean their structure in the Bruins game play style for so long, it they worked hand in hand. So I think if I don't know who's completely available, even for like a winger, that's still kind of a weird spot that the Bruins are in because like I've heard a lot about Arvidsson and it looks like they're trying to work out some sort of contract, but I would imagine if that happens, then he's back on that second line right wing. But I think you're going to see, like Mike keeps saying, the Sweeney masterclass, hopefully, of kind of off the board and not names that are spiraling around right now.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely, I think like kind of what Jake was just saying before too is like, that Trocheck thing that I saw. I think we saw Marcus had posted it, and it was just something that he was sharing across. But like Trocheck is yeah, he would marginally improve this team. He would also kind of clog their group in the middle to what you guys are saying. But it's also like those two first round picks, like that you look at the Bruins and you say those are assets. They're also potentially assets to draft because you never know where they're going to be. And if you throw those away at some other team for some garbage return, a 32-year-old center who doesn't really improve your team, or like, I really don't want them going out and grabbing Rasmus Anderson to a long-term deal, or
No, stay away from that.
yeah,
He was
that looks
horrible in the playoffs.
it just looks like a mistake written all over it. And, I think you look at the Panthers and even Vegas, like, yeah, they built some good teams through trades, but a lot of teams get their core, like their star players, outside of a few anomalies through the draft. Like you look at Barkov, you look at Ekblad, like you look at Vegas, like, they lucked out that Eichel wanted out of Buffalo, but like, how often does a guy like Eichel move? That's so rare, right? And so they were able to pull that off at the right time. But like overall, you need to like draft those guys, or you try to find, the right situation, have enough assets and acquire them some way. But um, so like I'm looking at it here. Eichel had 90 points. That's solid. He didn't have 140, but like to JB, like to your point a little bit too, is like, you know, Zaka's a good player for them. I think the problem with him is kind of that his playoff points. They really are like non-existent. I think it was 18 games he had like 2 points, which is tough. I mean, what would you guys do on Zaka? Like, obviously they're listening. You would listen? Would you?
Yeah, I would definitely
Yeah,
definitely listen. I mean, but I would also like I feel like I'm always trying to defend him, but I just think like even that like the point conversation, it's like he probably should have more just because he was on that. Like that's total, right? 18 games just with the bees.
yeah, I believe
Like
it's
you
18 playoff. Yeah,
Yeah, like 23 obviously he was on that team. They were stacked. I mean, they didn't really go too deep, but it, like with him it's just like I feel like you're almost asking for too much for what like this team had in like this past year's playoffs. Like realistically, Morgan Geekie slowed down quite a bit. Pasta for a while we were talking about a lingering injury. Like you're like Arvidsson played great. He was also battling through that injury in that first round. Like it almost just felt like there just wasn't you like they need that other scoring threat, even if it's on the wing. Like I think that that also changes the dynamic of the way that you view a Pavel Zacha. Like if you can have someone else that is a threat and alleviates some of the pressure off of like Pasta, then I think you might view Zaka a tiny bit differently. And you're not kind of just pushing him out to
yeah,
quickly fix something. Because it's like, realistically, that's all we were talking about. Like, Pasta was getting, like, pretty much double manned wherever he went. So there goes away that threat. Geeky came out of the gates unbelievable and then pretty much hit a wall. And it's like, you just don't, you have a young center in Minton. You're not, so I think with small growth and, if you were able to find something to move even for a winger, it's like I just hope I hope the Arvidsson thing isn't large. I really hope that they like are smart about the AAV and then because how old is he? 33? 32?
something like that sounds right to me. But
So
I
it's like
will
you sign
say,
3-4 years.
I can
yeah, no, I definitely hope it's not crazy. I mean, I haven't heard too much, but he's just a guy who, like, if he can replicate what he did, like you can pay him on a short-term deal, 5-6 million, but we'll see. But what I will say about your point about Zaka too is like, Pasternak is being covered in the playoffs like nobody's business, right? And the problem with being a
33.
yeah. The problem with being a team like that with over reliance on certain guys is that come playoffs, like matchup wise, it's so important because it's not just one game and in November, it's a series. And when that's why Pasternak's numbers they drop too. Like he's no longer like over a point a game, I don't think in the playoffs, like just because it's so much harder and there's so much more focus on him. And so now the other part of that is that Zaka's your like kind of your number one C, even if it's not line, whatever. Like whoever you're playing's number one center is usually going to be linked up against him. So now for asking a guy who you're already asking too much of to bring offense and shut down the best in the playoffs is hard. So I think that's a really good point by you. And
Yeah,
I
because I
do,
just think
yeah,
the down the middle has been the biggest talk of the Bruins, and like I agree with it, but I also think that like a lot of the stuff you hear is overlooking the other parts of this team. Like you look at like a Marat Hustadinov. Like I love him, right? Great player, but I mean like doesn't have a ton of games under his belt, and he's playing first line left wing, right? So like that's another liability that you're kind of sticking with Azaka and Pasta. It's like Pasta is an offensive weapon, going to take chances, not the best defensively. Marat doesn't have the experience like a Casey Middlestat. Pretty much know
yeah,
what you have there. Like that's not a crazy exciting player. Like it like on a cup winning team, I don't even know what line he's on. Third line, left wing. You look at Florida, they have Brad Marchand on the left. So
yeah,
it's just it, the glaring issues to me right now are the Elias Lindholm contract, which we've talked about ad nauseum, just for the fact of because that move was made, you can't do it again. So now it pretty much makes everyone tense up because yeah, the cap's going up, but now you have that on the books. It's going to be pretty much impossible to move, and you still have all these other like open spots around the lineup that you're pretty much just you have what you have.
yeah. You're paying
So
him right this second to be like either a really good 2C or like a Larkin level 1C. And it's like he's like maybe a third line center. So that yeah, the problem is that they have guys slotted too high in the lineup and he's paid too much. Um
like this
yes.
back issue and whatever. I mean, he's not the youngest, but I would say like to both of you, like going into next season, you got to be starting Minton as 2C now. Like what do you even see down the middle? Because it doesn't seem like we're going to be able to do much with getting a center, like a first line
Yeah.
center that's out there. So Zaka's your 1C. Are
I
you
mean,
slotting Elias to start
my
as your
thing is
2C?
like my thing is the biggest dependent thing is like where I feel like they want to let Higgins go because I think if they were to make a move this year and they don't make a center move and it's say it's a forward but not a defenseman, it could make sense to try to find like someone like Robertson or someone who can bring something and improve this forward group to play on the left with Pasternak, let's say, and then maybe those two players are talented enough you can put Higgins in the middle, or maybe Zaka just like looks a lot better there. Um, and then yeah, definitely though to your question, I think Lindholm should be dropped to like just like a specialist role where he'll get less minutes overall, but his minutes will rise in terms of penalty kill and maybe he's on the second power play.
Yeah. Um, Personally, I like Mitten 1C. I thought when he was put there with Pasta and Houstonov on that line, it was good. Don't know what that looks like moving forward, if it's sustainable or not, but I would like him and Zaka one top six centerman, and then I think Lindholm is best suited on that third line center. I don't really think you could put him much higher.
No. Yeah, I
No, I
agree.
agree
I
with that.
mean, you're
It's tough. It's
hoping.
a tough spot.
Yeah, but you're also hoping right now the spot they're in is a little bit like conservative future approach where Minton, Higgins, Letourneau, Patra. I do want to see Patra back in this lineup again as well, just
I do too.
because I think he's a smart player and I think him as like a Swiss Army knife, if he can find a way to carve out that kind of a role, could be useful. But they just have way too many Steves. But they're in a spot where it's like, Letourneau, all these prospects. It's like if one of those guys finds a way to grab 1C or two of them grab 1A and 1B, then you don't have to make some crazy move to try to find a 30-year-old number one center. And that's really the best way to go about it, right? They said they were going to retool and do this. The best move is to see it through and not get crazy and aggressive and then kind of like lose that ability. So, yeah, I think overall, I feel like they're probably going to do maybe one forward or or a defenseman, um, maybe more of a low key move, and then take it in next year and try to see how their prospects do. But I don't know. I mean, fuck, man, it's tough because they kind of didn't do that this year at times. Maybe it was because they felt like those young players were too young. I don't know. We'll see. But
But you played Matthew Poitras when he was 18.
yeah,
They made such a thing to keep him and instead of sending him back. And it for a while there, like 13 games in, like he looked pretty solid. And it's like now you're
yeah,
just so clogged down the middle that you're already sticking your first round pick on the wing. So it's like, are you like? I mean, Icy Mont, dude, on the third line, like just put Potter on the right wing,
I know.
start him there. I mean, your fourth line, you have Corrali, whatever, Jano and Castellic, probably leave that alone. But it's just like it's just so hard because you're caught in that middle ground. And I mean, I can only imagine being in the front office, like how tough it is. But like you look at like just even what the window might be, and it's like
Yeah.
this core is already aging, and it's just like yeah, you said it perfectly. You really do need someone to try to grab a spot, but you also need them to allow that to happen, which I don't think the Bruins are great at doing.
Yeah, I know they've seemed to be pretty impatient at times. But I mean, we'll see. Part of it's like maybe a guy like Jason Robertson, would like to come here, and I don't know. It's just maybe that gives you enough leverage where you don't have to move Hagens in that deal. Um, but whatever it is, like they do have a lot of draft picks here, and if they can draft and develop for, and one of these guys can pop off, that's obviously awesome. There's also the potential of these trades, like what you did with Zaka. Like I heard on that Poke the Bear, I think it is, right? Someone mentioned like a Lori for Kent Johnson swap. And I think I saw something else about the Bruins talking to the Seattle Kraken. And it makes you think like maybe that Jared McCann. Like is he I don't know where he's at. I remember when Seattle took him in the expansion draft. I remember that he was a player that was like overlooked, and he ended up having like a 40 goal season for them and being one of their better additions. He might be kind of a little bit on the decline. I don't know how old he is, but there's also Shane Wright. Like maybe there's a move like that where they can
Get
just make
Matty
the team
Beniers back in
better.
Boston.
Yeah, Beniers would be unreal. Columbus is listening on Marchenko.
Jared McCann is 30 on the
Okay.
last year's deal.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I'd have to look at his underlying numbers too, but I mean, you got to think they're exploring pretty much everything that they can.
A name that
Definitely.
I saw they were linked to was Owen Tippett, which intrigues me a lot. I like the way he plays a lot, and I think I could really see him on this team.
Yeah, I mean, he's a redhead too. It'd fit in Boston.
Yeah, that's a guy that I wouldn't be mad for them to make a move for.
No,
Obviously,
he makes sense, and I think Ristolainen maybe like that's. I was telling JB in my Be a Pro mode, I did both of them for my first the next year, and I sucked, and it was terrible because I didn't have my own first. But that's not real life. I think Tippett has a lot of skill that he would bring into that top six, and he's probably in that age bracket. Like, how old is Tippett?
look,
26, 27, 28. So he's in that age where like, you're trying to find guys who will fit in Hagen's maybe and
27.
also yeah, fit in Hagen's bracket of core players as well as Pasternak and McAvoy. It's kind of like, that middle ground there if you get like a 24 to 28-year-old player. So, um yeah, I mean there's definitely a lot of options out there. Uh but it is tough because it seems like a lot of these guys just want to go they want to go to Vegas and Florida, and it's going to be tough to beat that team, right? I mean, you are a little bit of ways from that in terms of getting there. So
No doubt. Another name I've kind of been playing around on Puckpedia over here, but another name that I don't think I've seen anything of him in trade talks at all. But at this point, who's not on the fucking table? His name intrigued me. Philip Forsberg. Nashville hasn't really done much the last couple of years. They don't really look like they're that close to doing anything. Actually, Marcus, I think it was Marcus, posted something but some link to Nashville with the Bruins, and it was kind of a hint at Forsberg. I don't know. That's a guy I would make a pretty strong offer for.
definitely, definitely, yeah. I remember thinking that maybe 2 years ago because they fall into this section of team that like they missed their window and they had to rebuild and they tried to keep it competitive. And then they have a guy like him who's ultimately when they're good again, he's going to be too old. And so you would, for their best interest, trade him and get the most out of him. So I think the Bruins, and he makes a lot of sense, like a lefty with Pasternak. That would
He's a
be,
righty, but
is he play left wing though?
uh Puckpedia has him on the left side, but I think he can play both.
Yeah, I just feel like he's kind of a I've seen him on the left, but either way, like
I think he does play the left.
even if you spread them out and you have them as your two top, right wings, that
Yeah.
that changes your team a lot because like this Bruins team can do it. You look at the Panthers, any team is beatable. Fucking 2023 Bruins lost too. But I will say when you say that, and I've talked about Adam Fox, like I've heard that they've been open to look to listening on Lafreniere,
Yeah.
Alexis.
That's another intriguing one.
I mean, he's just a high skill forward. Can he play the middle? I don't know, but if he can, like, he would improve this top six and be kind of again what they need. Like, they already have enough of these blag guys. They need these like top end. He's a first overall pick, so I mean, I don't know what you'd have to move for that, but
Yeah, that's honestly I'd be curious what their asking price on him would be.
yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, yeah, there's just a lot of interesting ways they could go with it. And I think it's about time they take a risk, but you don't want to put all your future chips and cash them too early. So,
Okay, official trade to the Blackhawks. Bowen Byram, Jordan Greenway to the Sabres. Fourth overall pick, 2026, second rounder, 45th overall pick, and then defenseman Lewis Creever.
yeah, I mean, I think if you're Buffalo, I think that's like a really good return in terms of getting fourth overall in a pack draft. I feel like, you know, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know how long that player is going to take, but it's very interesting.
I mean, you're gonna get probably Reed or Malhotra there. So I mean, I like it, especially since Byram wasn't gonna sign. Probably he's a free agent, right? Or he's an
Uh,
RFA. He's an RFA.
yeah, so he's 25. I'm looking at his stat card on J Fresh. It's pretty weak. Like it has him at 13% WAR, 40% offense, 25 defense. His strongest are finishing, goals, first assists, and so those are kind of things. It's like, all right, like he's not driving play super well, but he can score and he can lead to goals, which, those are obviously valuable, but just his overall impact when he's not scoring is probably a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah, and I think a big thing I just read is why he wants to move is he wants a more of a main role. I mean, obviously in Buffalo, you're behind a couple guys there. So
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, now he's been traded two times in his career. I think that's kind of a red flag, to be honest.
yeah, I mean he's in Colorado too. He's what like the fifth defenseman on that team.
But that's what I'm saying is like
Young.
Colorado looked at him after winning and being like, he's not like he's not actually worth what he's going to demand on the open market. So they traded him, and then Buffalo literally said got to the same conclusion. So I just think that those underlying numbers kind of tell a story that teams don't want to hold on to him.
Maybe we'll see.
But yeah, so I mean, Chicago gets a puck moving defenseman, a guy who can finish, but they're I don't know, they're kind of a fucking mess over there too. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Are there any other names out there that have been talked about? Obviously, Larkin, we're still waiting. I really feel like Minnesota is the number one fit for him, but we'll see, obviously. But you know,
Yeah.
anything else from either of you guys?
No, that's all
Yeah,
I
I
got.
gotta get going here.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm about good too, and I think we'll talk to Marcus, and we'll put that at the end here. So there we go. All right, we got Marcus Antonelli back, and we were just talking, off before we started this. How much of the draft are you like tuned into? Because I'm down to talk about that. I don't really know any prospects outside of like the top five, really.
I don't want to like denounce myself and call myself the wrong guy for it, but I mean, I've been looking at players specifically that I would want the Bruins to look at in a sense like for positional need. But at the same time, I've been trying to also look at guys like forwards that I would think, okay, here's a guy that if they fell to him, it's like you can't miss on him. You got to take him. But at the same time, I've also been really just like honing in on the defenseman. Like I feel like in this draft, from my viewpoint of it, which is not as much of a viewpoint as everybody else, but based on the way they're ranked, Mike, it's like there's an abundance of forwards. Like it's top, like the forwards are just spread throughout, and you could get a pretty good forward at 23. But it's like, in my opinion, it's really top heavy with defense, which like, we saw how the lottery went. Like if the Bruins had that fall their way, you could have a bit of both there, but you could also have like a really good prospect defenseman. That's a huge need that they have in the prospect pool. So I've been looking
Yeah,
a bit, but
that's fair. I mean, I
not
think,
enough as last year.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Last year having seventh, I mean, yeah, it would have been so awesome if they got sixth, and I don't know exactly. Verhoff maybe a little before that expected, and Reed maybe would be off the
He should be
board.
around 6 to 10. He's a
Okay,
little bit.
just kind of don't know really. I mean, you never know, but it seems like this year more than others, it's kind of. I mean, there's already been fourth overall already got traded, which changes a lot. What did you think of that one, Marcus? Like immediate, because obviously we watched the Sabres play the Bruins, and he was good. Um, but yeah, what did you think about that?
I was, I just can't believe that the team that, ended the Bruins season is in the top five of the NHL draft. I mean, Bowen Byram is a great defenseman and he fits Chicago's need. And, Chicago fits his need in the sense that they do need a number one defenseman. And he's kind of in the window of their young core. Fourth overall, though, I mean, like, I don't know. That's like, I don't know how the value adds up there for me, but I mean, hey, if Chicago sees the fit, they see the fit. The only thing is I don't know if there was an extension attached to it. So that I think is where a lot of people are sort of sour about that look from Chicago side. If there's an extension attached to that, I probably would have been like even Stevens there. But I mean, you'd like to see Byram locked up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like I've seen his underlying numbers. Like we were talking a little bit before about like the Hurricanes and like Stankoven. I don't know if you listen to Chicklets much, but I listened to their last one and it was real that one was really good. They talked to the owner at the end. And he was talking about just how they found him, and he was like one of the highest expected results. They just wasn't getting it in terms of players, like you know, in that salary and money. And they were like, we saw there was no player like it, where I don't think like public knowledge was like, oh, Stankoven's the guy you have to get. But I mean, he's a good young player, and so obviously it's panned out. But I don't know. I just heard some things about Byram's underlying numbers that might not be like super great. And I thought fourth overall, like you were saying, it's like that's steep. And then you're gonna probably have to overpay him because now you can't lose him. I think he's got one more year, and you can't lose him after that. I mean, that would just be fumbling completely. So when you see stuff like that, it kind of makes you as a Bruins fan be like, I want, like we were talking before, it's just I want them to go in and make a move, but fuck, if that's what you got to pay for something like Byram, then the Bruins don't
Yeah,
even really have that.
yeah, and that's the other thing you have to consider too is, based on what the Bruins could offer in a deal, whether that be in a buyer sense or they took on a selling approach, it's you have to evaluate, what assets are you going to dangle in front of another GM and say, like, we have this, because they could genuinely go either way, but it could really gut them either way. When Sweeney talked today, he talked about taking one step backward to take two steps forward. And I think that's something that a lot of people really sort of posterize in terms of what he was saying. So it kind of made you think. He considered Pavel Zacha like his number one priority in getting him extended. But could any GM say that for, a guy who can kind of do it all, give you 50 to 60 points in your top six and complements well with an 100-point check-in? Sure. But also it's like you think about, Seattle's dealing for Sam Skevich and giving up 25. Oh my God, the other deal. Byram we just talked about for fourth. Like, where does Zaka fit in all that?
Yeah.
And I've had friends I've talked to say like, oh, Zaka wouldn't command that. Well, Byram just commanded a fourth. Samoskevich just commanded 25th. What could the Bruins command with Pavel Zacha? And the question is, do you take it? Because if you give him the extension that he's looking for, you lock up a center that can help you, but questionably, how does that value add up in the current Bruins window? There's just a lot of directions you could point in.
Yeah.
I think it's very real you can get a top 10 pick for him.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see what that looks like. I mean, the ninth overall pick's been dealt, I don't know, five teams
Yeah,
now.
it's been around the block.
Yeah.
It's been moving. Nobody wants to draft, and I think the Bruins exactly. That's a pick they would want because they could use a defenseman in the pipeline. I mean, depending on what they want. I just think that it's good luck that we're doing this around this time of year because we had James Hagan's fall to us last time we were on this, doing all this together, fellas. So I'm kind of hoping the same sort of luck can swing and we get something out to the Mass Pike for the
Yeah.
Bruins.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, imagine they get a just absolute stud, and we're like, all right, we'll do this. We'll just set a reminder every year, same date with Marcus. Um, but yeah, no, the only thing I would say to what Jake just said is it's tough because like I think mathematically you look at those other trades and for sure Zaka would make sense for that, but it just depends on the team, right? Like I don't know how many teams picking in the top 10 are trying to get how old is Zaka? 29?
Yeah, 29. He would turn 30 next year.
So it's like Vancouver is what, three? Like you're obviously not getting that. You fall, I think Seattle's seven, which I have heard some things about.
I've heard some chatter there too.
Yeah, I mean, really just like we've both seen things on Twitter, but you never know, obviously. But if the thing with Seattle is they've just been kind of like just nowhere ever since their first year. So maybe they'd be open to taking a bit of a jump. Because Zaka, like you said, Marcus, he's a really impactful player. Like I think we all love Zaka here. Um, and he's Pasternak's age. I just wonder, like, what is he asking? Genuinely, what could he be looking for? Because then I would be able to tell you if I would want to re-sign him or not. It's just like what number he needs.
Yeah, and that's the most difficult part is like wondering what is going on with the Bruins, including Zaka's like number. The contract projection for him from AFP Analytics would have him at like 5 years, 7 point something million, which I feel would be, decently reasonable to bring him back on. I think also though, like we don't know. And that's a contract projection. And that's something that I think too we have to understand is like the Bruins keep it close. The Bruins keep it really tight knit, and it's really difficult to gauge, what is going on with them. I mean, I was talking about it on my pod, but like the only rumblings we've really heard is just aside from them listening on Zaka, is the
Laura,
extensions. What's up?
sorry, continue and I'll just mention it after.
I was just gonna say, like, the only things we've heard, because the Bruins keep it so tight knit, is the extensions of Arvidsson and Peak, updates on that, and then just like whether Zaka's gonna get moved. And if that, like, they could be doing something else. Sweeney did say like he's been in on these conversations, but it's like, where are you tapping in? Like, are you in on this? Like, genuinely, like, because your best player called it out and said, "I'm not getting younger." Zadorov doubled down with that. And then management at the same time goes, yeah, we do want to make a win now trade. We do want to add a player. So you do, but why aren't we hearing anything about this? Like, why aren't we seeing anything of, oh, the Bruins are in on this guy? I can't say I've seen any of it.
The
But go
only
ahead.
thing that I would say my feeling, my guess on what is going on is that they're in like early conversations. And I think when you're at where the Bruins are at, like we kind of were talking about, it's like you really don't want to be what's it called? In a bidding war for like kind of average players. Like Kyrou, solid. He's not the 1C you're looking for, right? And you kind of have to make like a right decision here or a smart decision in terms of like what you're going to bring in, how much it's going to cost you in terms of money, and then in terms of assets. And it's like it's a seller's market right now. Like all these deals, they're happening and they're getting almost what they want because all these teams are trying to be so aggressive. So for the Bruins, it's like, what's the price? And then it's like, it's negotiation tactics where you're like, they're not interested and they're hoping if they hang up, that price might go down. But the problem is, I think other GMs are just paying it, and it's like outside of Brady Tkachuk, who I would have thrown a lot at for sure, but he wanted to play with his brother. And who else? I mean, Larkin, I'd consider. I think he's the closest to a 1C, but even that, like, that's a tough one. And the Bruins weren't even on his list. So it doesn't really matter too much unless he keeps opening his list every week, you know?
Yeah, and that's the other difficult thing too is you talk about the bidding war. I mean, look at I first thought about the Rasmus Anderson at the trade deadline, like what that looked like and what the Bruins were willing to offer for him, right? Obviously, that didn't fall that way, value wise. But you think about what the Bruins have, and what they could offer, how they value that compared to what any other team in the league could offer and value. Like these teams, like the Bruins just got out of picking top 10. A year ago, we were talking about picking top 10. And when you think about how they've been able to track back into this, track back into the playoffs, it's great. But now you have to ask yourselves, is this how, like, are you going to stay patient? Because if you're going to stay patient, my biggest thing is if you're not going to make any moves, say that. But if you're doing that, I'd prefer to start seeing the prospects get more time. And they have. We saw that with Marat Hustadinov and Fraser Minton both getting like 30 points, like small, but still for two young guys to go off like that, it's like the best production we've seen out of like under 23 Bruins forwards. We love seeing that stuff because we haven't in a long time. So what could that be with James Higgins down the road? What could that look like with Dean? What could have been with Fabian Lysell, who you don't even know if he's getting a qualifying offer sheet. So like that is the biggest thing I would want to call them out on, so to speak, is if you're not doing that, like look internally and actually like address the skill you have there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. That was frustrating at points last year, right? I think we all can agree on that. Like Patra had some exciting moments. I think we're all pretty big Patra guys. Like,
Stadium series goal.
yeah, he looks
Yeah.
good. Yeah. And like that's a really good point. It's almost like this thing of like, well, which way are you going? If you're like commit to that decision, and because they're so in this middle ground, because it is tough. Like you do have Pasternak saying what you just said, even though the Bruins have contended for over a decade. So you do have to take that step back, but at the same time, your prime player is like at the peak of his career right now. Like there's a down of like at some point, and that just comes with like the human body and how much the game of hockey wears on you. And so, yeah, it is tough. You look at that Kyrou trade, like 16th overall, and I like that McMichael kid too. So it's like you start to look at what the Bruins version of that trade looks like. It's like, how would they have really even competed for Kyrou? Like, and again, he's not. I don't think he's like gonna save the Bruins either. You know.
And to the point of that, the reason Washington is able to contend for that is because, even during their winning window, right? They won a Stanley Cup the year before the Bruins were in the Stanley Cup final. I think the biggest difference is how Washington was able to draft. I can't pull up all their prospects right now, but what I can probably tell you is that Washington definitely has a deeper prospect pool than we do. And the reason they're sort of able to consider themselves a bit of a retooling team, especially with the question mark of Alexander Ovechkin, right? The reason they're able to kind of build back up so quickly is because they have this surplus and they can just say, yep, all right, buy, first round pick, fine, we got this guy. Like they snagged Cole Hudson the second round, and I covered Cole Hudson, and that guy just plays pond hockey, and it's just beautiful to watch. He's an amazing defenseman. But that's what you're able to do when you hit on your draft picks. And when you look at what the Bruins have done, it's not like you could say they haven't hit on their draft picks, but they also haven't done the best job of developing. I can't think of somebody outside of Mason Lohrei, who's genuinely in the past couple of years, who's come up through the Providence system and is like playing as a regular NHLer in terms of draft pick they've had.
You know what's funny is that the last
Swayman.
yeah, the last time we spoke, and obviously McAvoy, but we're getting further and further away when we're starting to talk about those guys. But the last time we talked, not the last draft thing we did, but it was probably like a month or two ago.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I wrote down that I wanted to get your thoughts on. I don't think we really talked about it, but was specifically like drafting, yeah, but also the development side of it. And I think we could all like, we all probably have our thoughts on that, where I don't know, like how much it's hard to say how much of that is on Lohrei. Like if he doesn't turn out to be an NHL player, how much is on him? How much is on the coaching? How much is just on the organization as a whole? Um, and Patra, like he got called up immediately, and then we haven't
You're
seen
supposed to
him.
be the second coming of Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah,
Pulled him
and
out
We
of
do that for
junior.
everyone,
Like,
though.
yeah, we that's just
yeah,
the
like
fans.
that's
That's
true.
our
Jacob
fault.
Forsbach, Carlson.
Yeah, that's me.
Um,
Every 3 years, I think we got the next one, but
But they will do
yeah.
this thing where they kind of, I feel like at least, yeah, the NHL just confirmed the Tuck signing. David Camp's going the other way. Wow. So I think what the Bruins do is I think they fall in love with this certain style that they want all of their prospects to learn. And you heard it even today in Don Sweeney's presser, and it just rings true, where he said, Patra can compete for an NHL job. I feel like he's been saying this the past 3 years, but the one thing he's been talking about is, oh, Patra needs to work on his defensive game. He needs to be more defensively responsible. Like you keep hearing this notion of you need to learn the defensive side of the game. And that definitely is something that I can understand why you would value that. But I don't really think these other teams care. I don't want to use that, but I don't think, of course they care. I don't think these other
they
teams
don't
are
value it as much.
they're not prioritizing it. Thank you, Jake. And like I just see what you just not throw them into the fire, but you toss them into the NHL and say, show us what you got, and then we go from there. So I think that if they just did a little more of that, I would like. I'd love to see it. Like the intrigue. I love prospects. Like the intrigue of that is one thing, but the only way you can truly tell if a guy can play at the highest level is just putting him in at the highest level in like the Boston Bruins system at TD Garden. Like that's what it is for me. I mean, I'm worried about what's going to go on with Michael DiPietro. He's not even a prospect. He's 27. But that's a guy who's done everything at the AHL level possible. I'm pretty sure, like goaltender of the year, I'm pretty sure he won the MVP.
Yeah,
He did.
I think you're wait, not MVP like
No, he won the MVP.
wait, the best
He
wait a
won
minute.
best
So
goalie and best like overall player. Yes.
no way. And then what is up with this team also just shitting themselves in the playoffs too? Like but that is crazy. So that's like a Carey Price in the minors type season. And the Bruins are going to throw Korpisalo's crazy, like bipolar ass out there, you know?
So, and that's something that always just gives a question mark to me is just, you have certain players who have demonstrated that they have abilities and they have upside. At the minor league level in your system, which you prefer them to do. So what is holding you back from inserting them into your lineup? I still wish I would know to this day.
Yeah, I think we all had problems with Lysell too. Like the way they handled Lysell, because it's like Marcus, I know you just said that they like I heard Sweeney said like he didn't want to get into the list, but I think I would put a solid amount of money that that guy is gone. I mean, from either end of the spectrum, neither one probably wanted to even have that conversation. But I've liked Lysell. I think he's kind of an example of a guy, to your point, they finally chose that upside and that risk at like 21 overall or wherever it was, 21. And it doesn't, those sometimes don't work out. But, I do agree. Like overall, I think the Bruins choose, they want these guys. I honestly feel like it's kind of like the Bergeron effect, where it's like they want them to all play like perfect. And it's like they're children. Like they're literally children. They're under 18 for the most part. And there's so much development that comes with it that you should try to pick the right person. But like, come on, guys. I mean, at times, like, maybe be a little bit more creative in the way you draft. But there's a whole lot of defenses and things for both sides. But even you look at how much Lysell played, and it's like, remember his first game? He got called up for that one game. He had an assist. It was right before Christmas, and they sent him down and they didn't call him back up. Was that the same year they were terrible, and then he ended up playing later in the year, or was that the year before that?
I don't think he touched the ice after that.
Yeah, I think that was his only game all year, and then he had a point, whatever it was. Like, then they
Oh,
didn't
he
even
did. He did.
they,
He did. Sorry.
they didn't even. Oh, yeah, I think it was the
He
same
did. That
year,
was it though.
dude, that they didn't have anyone to play. They had to call him up, at that point. Like they traded
Him and
everybody.
Brown, dude. Him and Brown.
Yeah, Patty Brown,
But even then, like in a
Minton got up there.
sorry, even then in a find money year where, or not even a find money, in a year where you just nothing, it's a nothing burger. Why don't you call up your first round pick? Why I was just so curious why they were recycling, like utilizing what was his name? He was number 95, like Vinny Lettieri on the second line left wing. I was just like, what
Yeah.
are I was all right, no disrespect to Vinny Lettieri. I was like, but there's a person who could contribute to the future of the organization that you could use, that you could play, that could give you NHL reps. Like I didn't understand why they did that with Lysell. I don't think we'll really ever know until like he's retired and it's or not even retired or when he just like leaves out of there.
He might be retired from this North America soon, but I think that the only answer for that quickly is just I don't think they like him. Like I think it's pretty clear. Like he has like a lot of things came out about an attitude. I don't know what the attitude is. Like if it's
That they buried him
ego.
down in the A.
Yeah, he's a little
Yeah, dude,
pissed.
I'd have an attitude too.
First round pick isn't getting any shots. I don't know. Yeah, who knows if the kid's a little bit of a D-bag or maybe he's a little bit of one and they just like they're playing hardball and at that point that stuff just might cost you. I heard did you hear that Connor Zary is available?
I did see that, yes.
Yeah, so I sent that into our chat earlier and I saw a video come up where him and one of their other forwards were at the press conference at the end of the year. I didn't hear this till now, but he was talking about Zane Parekh and I don't remember exactly what he said, but essentially he was saying like with guys like that, you have to like let them play. Like you can't be trying to hold them back and put the leash on them so tight. Like at the end of the day, they have skill sets that not a lot of people have, and you want to allow them to play their game. And of course, like any other player, you're gonna have to be like, hey, this is where we need you to improve and whatever. But sometimes there's just this really old-fashioned hockey thing where the game has changed so much, and it's like you're seeing Lane Hudson, Quinn Hughes, like they're really good with their sticks and defending and they're attentive to that for sure. That's why they're making tons of money and they're really good. But those kind of players don't come around often. And I just think a lot of teams kind of shun the players with ability just because they want to keep them so safe and defensive, but it's like you're gonna have your fourth liners are gonna turn the puck over. Those guys who you view as safe hockey players. You know what I mean?
A great case study of this is the trajectory of Trevor Zegras, but with
Yeah.
Lysell and just like how the Bruins like do things, Lysell obviously is a player who is like demonstrated skill, but at the same time, I kind of like really honed in on watching him if I got a chance to like watch a Providence Bruins game or a highlight. Like there, like he was active on the blue line, like in his own defensive zone, and
Yeah.
and he was like doing the things that the Bruins want him to be. But I do think that to the point of letting guys playing their game, if there's anything I hope the Bruins can kind of do is allow this next wave of prospects to not or to be themselves, in their game and not try and turn them into something that they're not or they can't be. You can develop them and add things into their game. That's one thing, but to try and change the kind of player you're drafting, like when you draft a player, there's only so much you know about the guy where it's like, okay, this is what they are. This is their points. This is kind of how they play. You get the rundown of their profile. Like that's what you're hoping that player can be. So for example, in the draft, a guy I really like is Xavier Villeneuve. I think that's how you say his name.
That's my
Uh,
guy.
that
That's what
I
I want
love
them
him.
to take. I hope he's
So
there.
he's practically just like a French Lane Hudson, and he's a Bruins fan who grew up like 46 minutes from the Bell Center. Like this guy, his range is pretty wide. Like the Athletic has him in the second round, but some people have
I've
him as
seen him
high.
from like 11 to like 35.
It's crazy, Jake. And
He's also going to BU next year.
he is. So that's an incentive for the Bruins to be like, all right, here's a kid we can have in our backyard. But also just you think about I just look at a player like that who just has such tremendous skill, tremendous upside, tremendous offensive output. And it's like
Skating
if the
ability too.
yeah, and if I just look at if the Bruins are trying to take him, it's like the evaluation is that's the kind of player you're taking because you need that kind of output from your blue line on the left side. Like if that's what you're taking, utilize that, develop to that is what I'm trying to say. Like don't try and make Fabian Lysell, who is a very skilled winger who can score the puck, who's very fast in transition, um, be something he's not. So
Improve your strengths, improve your weakness, or sorry, leverage your strengths and improve your weaknesses. Like to your point, you can't change Lysell, but if he's, a version of like, I think JB, you would always compare him to Lucas Raymond. That you meant multiple times. I remember hearing you say that, and I see something there. It's like, maybe Lucas might be a better like all around player, but if he can bring you somewhat of the creative skill that he has and you can work on his defensive game over time, like that's great. And Lorai, like he's a fucking unicorn back there. He's a strangly little 6'5" redhead from Louisiana, and he's got like elite puck skills. Now, I have been as frustrated with him as anybody, so I understand like sometimes the retrieval aspect with forechecking is been bad. Like he's scared of contact, and I don't blame him. Like he's a skinny kid, and there's some big guys coming at him, but I don't know. It's just kind of the same thing. It's like, you would think you'd try to leverage that talent, put him more on the power play, use him with your forwards, similar to how remember they used Tyson Barrie with McDavid and like trying to like, he wasn't the best two-way defenseman, but he would just send breakout passes to Connor McDavid and Draisaitl. So, yeah, I agree with you. It's tough.
With all of this, though, present day, I wanted to ask Marcus, right? So we talk about this with the prospects and the Fabian Lysells of the world that don't seem to have too much of a future here. Where does that leave you when you think about a James Higgins and the leash that they're going to even give him for next season? Obviously, we saw him come in, played some playoff games, and then he ended up getting a healthy scratch for the remainder. But early in this next season, what are you expecting the Bruins to do with him, and how are they going to utilize him?
the devil on my shoulder is saying that they're going to start him in Providence, but the angel wants me to believe that he's making the team out of camp. And I think with a top 10 pick, I genuinely believe like if you have a guy who has been, you know, in the hockey spectrum for so long, just like since he was 14, uh, he's been the guy. He knows how to be the guy since he was young. I think you have to, insert him into the NHL lineup. And I think you just have to, kind of like I said, with what I wish they did with other prospects or what I hope they do future wise, is throw them into these situations. Let them learn. Obviously, I didn't like how the Bruins ended their season. But what I liked about what they did was they recognized, okay, situationally, here's a player in James Higgins who can do or who understands. I really like talking about Higgins, so give me a second here. Higgins he's very skilled, but the other thing I love about him is positionally he's been described as like a cerebral guy. Like he's always thinking where he's supposed to be, how he can impact the game, what can he do? I mean, his first NHL assist, like he's forechecking, kicked it to I think it was Raleigh, and then they got it out to the defense. Like those are little things that he does that is a reason why you take him where you take him, right? And there were other times where it's like, people were kind of on him about how he played in the playoffs. But this is the expectation if you're the Boston Bruins. The expectation is you're constantly in the playoffs. So for him as a player, to throw him into that situation gives me a little confidence in the organization that they're like, okay, we need to show him so that he understands this is what we're trying to do all the time. You embed him in the locker room, you let him get to know the guys, and like he played between 5 different teams. It's insane to me, including like World Juniors. So it's been a lot of hockey for him. But my hope is he's in the lineup and he's a regular middle six player for you for the entire 82 game season. You don't falter, you don't deviate from anything. You guide him along and let him figure it out. I'd love dream scenario, just put him with Pastrnak and have Pastrnak help him out. Right? Like if David Pastrnak wants to also get into a contending window, a huge integral piece of that, we don't want to put the pressure on him, but a huge integral part of that is going to be the development of James Higgins. So, and I don't think Pasternak's going to say no to, yeah, put him on my line. Let's see what happens. I think he liked a highlight of Higgins last year on Twitter where it was like he made a sick pass at the World Junior Summer Showcase. Like Pastrnak likes, I think he would like that intrigue just as much as the rest of us. So I hope that moving forward, and even for the Laternos, the Zellers that we're talking about, Cooper Simpson with his insane wrist shot, likes of which I've never seen. Like throw them in and let them play. That's all I hope.
Yeah, I remember the Higgins thing was he like responded to it. I think he sent like it might have been like a gross emoji. Fuck, Jamie, pull that up.
What, like on you're
Twitter.
talking on social?
Yeah, he responded to the Higgins thing you're talking about. He like sent a response to it. I think he used an emoji or something.
I do think I know what you're talking about. I thought originally my mind thought he reposted it, but
I
if I
could be
went
wrong. I could have sworn it was that, but I definitely
here, Pasta doesn't tweet much. He doesn't tweet much.
Pasta Higgins tweet.
Czechia won the Worlds. He reposted a Chicklets. Oh, that's 2024. We're a bit deep.
It would have been probably a response though.
Yeah, it's a reply.
Yeah.
Yeah, he retweeted 2 things about James Higgins, a lineup chart that showed him on the first line of the U20 team.
Okay.
And then a Stephen Ellis highlight, and it was like, you know how it's like,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that he did that emoji twice on August 1st, 2025.
Blowing, like a
Like, oh, what a dish.
Yeah.
And yeah, this was a sick dish. But you've seen it.
Yeah.
We've seen like I think a huge knock in his game was at the college level as a freshman, a point per game, and people were like, nah, this ain't it. But you see how he kind of like grew into his sophomore year, how much he was able to. I liked watching the little things, like his ability to protect the puck. His vision. I just love his prowess in the offensive zone, and even then, like he's not afraid to put his head in somebody's face, during a scrum. That's a true Bruin right there. If there's anything that old school Bruins fans are going to love and enjoy is when there's a really tall University of Maine defender that's just like talking his ear off and he's just like he's right back like cage to cage. That's the kind of grit I like to see with a skilled player. Not to say he does have it, but it's it's strength, it's mentality. He has that mentality to him. So
100%. 100%. I've seen a bunch of him scrap, like him getting in scraps. I saw him at a couple games this year, like BC and then Providence. So I guess just two, but different teams obviously, and both games he was in scraps, like just like little, not throwing the dropping the mitts, but he's not afraid. But that just kind of shows you he's fiery. And it seems like he's really focused on being like a superstar, which is just again, it's what the Bruins need. Like Trent Frederick, that kid didn't get drafted and be like, I'm gonna work my ass off this summer and be like the face of the Bruins. He was just happy to be there. Whereas James Hagen's coming in and probably what Pasternak viewed himself as. This is like, I'm a superstar player. And to your point, he had a long year, man. Like, I think even you look at the playoffs, like, you look at the point he had in the regular season, he was forechecking, and that was great. But, at the end of the year, it's like that guy had played so many hockey games and is thrown into the NHL playoffs for the first time at like 19. That's a lot. So I agree
A
with you.
different game at that point of the season too.
Yeah.
Starting him in Boston, I can't imagine they send him down to Providence, but you never fucking know with these guys. But letting him just roll for a full 82, like you guys mentioned, like will be huge. And just letting him play his game, like he's so skilled. Like just let him rock. Just let him do what he does and teach him how to play Bruins hockey along the way.
I think a huge thing that a lot of people kind of are sour about is how the season ended for him, where you look at the double IHF Worlds and how he didn't score much. And you look at the fact that he's not at development camp, and I had a few people going, "Oh my God, like this is not," and it's like, do you really need to? Do you really need to be playing more hockey? Like, have your break. And it's also like that, like we've been discussing, that's your fifth team.
Yeah.
That's your fifth team. You're flying across the pond now. Like, okay, you're going from BC, and then you're traveling with the Bruins, but then you're going across the pond. Like, it's a lot for a guy who literally, when we originally like linked up and discussed everything, he's 18 years old since the draft. It's been a whirlwind since Los Angeles for him. So yeah, rest up, but
Yeah.
I can't wait to see him in a spoke to be, hopefully for the entirety of the season.
He better be.
Yeah. No, well said. And I think he will be too. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, even if they don't do anything, like they almost have to get some guys out, right? Like they have too many just like of the same guys. Like Icy Mont. And I really do think they signed a lot of those guys in anticipation to give them like a little bit of a window or to kind of fill spots in the year to 2 years before these prospects are ready. Like Higgins is the first one of these that's ready, right? So you got to think like next year, maybe Letourneau is coming in at the end of the year. And so in like 2 to 3 years, you're going to hopefully have like Higgins, Letourneau, maybe Zellers, maybe the kid Simpson, um, and we're still talking about Murat Husadinov, maybe Matt Patra, depending on what happens with him this year, Minton. Like we're talking about a lot of these spots being taken up. So you're kind of like, that's what I think they were trying to do, but it's almost like they just got one or two too many of them. But we'll see. I mean, Providence is getting totally revamped down there too.
Yeah, I was gonna say like we have. I always like to do a little post of which guys in the AHL are most likely to like play in Boston, but I can't because nobody signed to a deal except for like Zajac and Brunei. Like, yeah, I can't fill out the list. They don't have enough guys. It is. I am interested to see how like that overhaul looks. Down there, but. Yeah, it is insane to think about, and it's a good point you make too, Mike, with the contract things, because like when I'm seeing all these trades, I'm just thinking like the Bruins window and everything, and I'm like, oh my God, they're just sleeping, they're not doing anything. But at the same time, I do think for someone who needs to like, let the steam out of their ears and stop there, it's like they are still the way they've evaluated themselves based on these contracts is like, there's your long-term guys, but there's also a few guys that are just, especially in the bottom six, that are, 1 year left. Like they're all going to be UFAs. So we'll see how they approach it from there.
Yeah, and I don't want to name names, but I mean, you want to name names? Like we
Yep.
could go down we could go down the I mean, we got Steve's help me
Oh,
out
he's
here.
got 2 years now, actually.
Steve's, yeah, that
That's a two.
re-signing was a little bit silly. I think they watched him play against the Leafs in that one game and he like lit it up and they were just like, "All right, fuck it. We'll give you a 2-year deal." And then he just completely mailed it in after that. But I mean, who else? Who else they got that are just like Icy Mott, Steve's, uh
Raleigh is definitely another
Raleigh.
one.
yeah, and like that fourth line's good for now, but it's just like you're also I would be interested to see just like some more youth infused in that bottom six too. Like those guys didn't do much against the Sabres. I mean,
I'd like to see
Yeah.
Tufty up there
yeah.
on that fourth line a little bit this year. Like we watched him in Providence do that. He's a beast. Like
Is he
and
gone though? Has he got a deal? I
he's
mean,
an RFA, I think, right,
Yeah,
Marcus?
he is. So we'll see what they do there. He is a very tall, lanky player, but the stints he's had up in Boston, he just hasn't. It's interesting. Like he's exactly the kind of like versatile, another one of those unicorns we could discuss, but we just haven't really seen. I haven't seen him put the puck in the back of the net, at
how
least in
many
my memory.
how
I
many
think
chances has he had up here though? Because I think he played
Very few, I'd
he got
say.
called
It's
up
definitely
once
few.
this year. I think he scored, but it was like a
opposite.
garbage time
Yeah.
goal, like last 10 seconds of the game.
And then
Yes.
before that though, like he got a good chance the year prior. And I think that was disappointing. That was where you were kind of like, all right, this guy hasn't done anything. But this year, him in in Providence, you gotta just hope maybe he got some confidence. And if they bring him back, he'd be an interesting guy, kind of like you said, like in that Alexi Protas, I mean Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Nyes a little bit. Like obviously, we're talking about your taller tree version right now. He's doing it in Providence, but he's still relatively young. Maybe he could turn out to be something, but
Mm.
you gotta bring him up. But yeah, all right, how about this? Let's pivot a little bit. Draft talk. What you said you've been looking more around where the Bruins pick. Is there any other guys that you were looking at? Because I'll bring up one name. Casey Mutrin, and this is I'll be totally honest, I watched 3 minutes of his highlights, and I just am not gonna. If I was the Bruins scout, I would be watching it all day, but I just can't. I can't watch too much more, and then they're just gonna take like a guy projected 45, 45th overall, and I'm gonna be like, oh well, great, I wasted my time. Uh, but yeah. Anyway, have you seen that guy,
I've
Mutrin?
well, he was an honorable mention on my buddy's favorite names of the NHL draft. So, yeah, I don't really know too much about him, but I've heard he's a good forward. And like I said before, if the Bruins do want to go forward again, like I'm all for it. But I wouldn't be as happy if there was a defenseman,
Yeah,
that would be slated within that range that maybe kind of fell
for
that
sure.
where
A
it's like,
right
oh.
shot, ideally.
A right shot would definitely be ideal. Lefty wouldn't be bad too. I think you need somebody else where you're kind of looking at like, oh, we got all these forwards, but then hey, here's that defenseman. But within
Yeah.
the top 64, there's a lot of names that I do like. And I'm a sucker for seeing a college hockey commitment because I think at least for me, I feel like college hockey is huge in like if you want to develop yourself into a pro, at least from the way I look at it, because we watch Hockey East games. It's like the most competitive conference in college hockey, in my opinion.
No,
And
we totally agree over here. Big college hockey, it's the future.
so
Yeah,
like
Gavin McKenna.
yeah, so like when I see all those like commitments, especially like Villeneuve to BU, it's like that's something where I'm like, okay, not only is he a talented player, but here's a person who recognizes, okay, I don't want to play against players of, my age group because we could talk about, James Higgins dominating his age group, which he does. right? We could talk about McKenna dominating his age group in the WHL, but that's that's guys your size. That's guys, if as you age, that's just guys under you, and you're just going to be getting 100 points. What can you do against? It's not that much anymore, but like, what can you do against 23, 24-year olds, guys who have actually grown into their bodies, especially as a young, lanky 18-year-old like him? Like, what can you do? And it's a good test to really show people, like, okay, here's what he is able to like do in high stakes situations. So.
I think the biggest part of that, real quick, is like you said, this growing into your bodies and the size element. Because you go to the junior leagues and yeah, the kids are younger. They're not probably as mature defensively. Like you see a lot of toe drags, guys fucking just absolutely swimming out there. So it's a little bit of like a points league. But then also the fact that they play way more games than they do in college. So you have so much more time to like eat, build your strength, which is so important for these young kids. Like valuable years of that versus just overall playing double the amount of hockey games, especially when the maturity in those hockey games isn't even that strong.
Mm. But yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's just, well, if we're looking at names that I've liked, like I'll say Villeneuve's one. Ryan Lynn, he's ranked 15th on Elite Prospects. Like that's a guy who I would, a righty, he's very he senses the game well. They say like he has a good brain to him. He's going to Denver. Like, go win a national championship and grow your game there. Like that'd be
That's
a
Lynn.
great pick to have. Ryan Lynn,
Lynn, yeah.
Lin. But then from there, it kind of drops off. There is Michigan State has a kid named who's going in, Tommy Blyle. He's kind of like supposed to go later past where the Bruins are supposed to pick, but I would not be mad if the Bruins took
How
him.
do you spell Belial? It's not like
Yeah,
BL.
Beyl.
Oh
Plays for
wow.
Moncton.
Because that sounds like JB, the what's the Belial? Is that just like the old legendary coach that you guys had, but it's a different spelling?
Yeah, different spelling. I mean, there's a bunch of them. The
Hmm.
Belials.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was like one of their kids or whatever, but um yeah, yeah. I mean,
I like his
it'll
game.
be interesting. Yeah.
And
Where's
and then the other thing too is those are kind of like the, in my opinion, the sort of big three names you could go for defensively, because the range goes from, you're talking 13, 15th, and then Blyle's 32. And
yeah.
there's a big separation between the defense, where there's a nice group of really skilled forwards that I've tapped into a little bit. Jackson Cover he's a guy who didn't play ice hockey until he was 15. He was just rollerblading in the Cayman Islands, I think, or the
Oh, I saw
Bahamas.
that. I watched the
Great
draft
story.
thing. Yeah, that's interesting. That's pretty late to be picking up ice hockey, but
Yeah, but he plays for London. He's a very skilled player. And that's the kind of, that's definitely the kind of skill that the Bruins would need. There's also like the Ruck twins. A lot of Bruins fans, I think, on social media, they really mess with the idea of like taking two like
but
twins and
brothers,
having
yeah.
them like play with Zellers. Who else have I
Dude, I
liked?
will say those guys look like Beavis and Butthead so much. Like they're two little characters. I watched the draft like NHL video they did, and those two
Yeah.
kids, they seem like beauties, but they're just so funny. Like they're tiny, like they just look the exact same and they have these like big faces. Yeah, I just couldn't stop thinking Beavis and Butthead. But
Yeah. They're
um,
definitely great. They're
yeah.
definitely great locker room guys.
A lot of these names too are just, is it just me or do they feel like NHL, like when you're playing be a pro and you're like 6 years in the future and it's just like, these random ass names.
Hey, at this point, the NHL better start putting the college hockey teams into the game. Like,
Oh,
it's
I,
ridiculous at this point.
I
they
think
probably,
there's some progress on that because I don't know if you saw, but in the past, like they've never, even in Hut, like they would never, like the logos were never there. They released like some cards. I think who was it? Was it Malhotra? No, it's Ty Lawrence. He got a card and like the BU logos on the card. And like McKenna, I think too. So like that's something. That's something
It's
trending in the right
progress.
direction.
you would think that they would just do a NCAA hockey game, right? Because like I don't think college or I don't think the NFL video game has college teams or anything.
I
But
just don't think you'd get as many like sales. It's not a huge enough deal as like
yeah, I
CAA
guess.
football. They'd
That
probably
would
just
be
build it
sick.
into NHL if anything.
That would be so cool though. Imagine you could just be like a
Yeah.
college be a pro or something. I don't know. But yeah.
But that's the thing though too is like putting the college hockey teams into the game. Like there's like if you look at all the check marks in the programs next to the players, it's ridiculous at this point. And if you're marketing the game and you're marketing that aspect of like Gavin McKenna, like couldn't play with Gavin McKenna probably unless you were playing for like Canada. I don't have Chell. I haven't played it since like 21. I love the game still. It's one of my favorites of
No,
all time.
yeah,
But
yeah,
no Gavin McKenna in the
no,
game probably because he's playing for Penn State and not for like the Mezzanat Tigers. So you
yeah,
have to include it now. Like you
yeah.
can't just not
That's
have that.
true. Now that he's in, that's got to be the next thing somehow because it used to be like, yeah, Anders Bjork wasn't in the game, but like no one really gave a shit. But now that
Yeah.
like the first overall pick, being a college
I went
player,
to be a GM to rebuild the Bruins like one night. I was just like, fuck it, like let's
I've
make
been
the
there.
Bruins good again. It's like, oh, none of our prospects are there. James Higgins, Laterno, Sellers,
That'll set you back.
none of them.
And it's like you don't want to go through and just like make them and then like,
Yeah.
find them. So, and even then, if you guys didn't see it already, DuPont's going to Michigan. Like you can't something's got to give. Something's got to give. You got it because that guy is probably going to go number one, if not top three.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah, the NHL will probably be like 2 or 3 years behind on that though, knowing them. But eventually they'll catch on.
I hope they get in at some point. But no, back to the draft things. You mentioned Mike. You mentioned Mertrin. I do want to point out that he is a Boston College guy. So if there's anything the Bruins love, it's a nice excuse to go to Conti Forum.
Yeah.
Um,
His name really reminds me of be a like NHL GM mode. You're 6 years in advance. Like the way you spell it, it just seems like a fake name. But maybe that's just bias. But I think he's the captain of the U.S. NDTP team for his age or whatever. And
mm,
his highlights, he looked like a pretty big sized forward skill. But I agree with you. I mean, overall, I do think they have just a massive, massive hole on the right side, and they need an NHL top four defenseman to help McAvoy a little bit. I mean, he's just being way over relied upon, and as have Swayman and Pastrnak. Like they have those three guys, but they need support, man. So
yeah, no, for sure. Like I know we're all doing like our sort of mock off seasons. I think I saw yours before I hopped on, which is coincidental. You want Adam Fox as a guy. There's a little bestie connection between Charlie McAvoy and Fox from their college playing days and even the US program before that. So that is something where I think it's underrated of a move. I haven't seen that before. So, I like that idea too.
thank you.
Um,
Yeah.
but for me, I'm looking like Fox definitely is a guy who could fill a need for the Bruins. My big thing was bringing in Hronek from Vancouver.
Like
I
him a lot
realized
too.
that. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
No, I just said I like him a lot too.
I was gonna say I realized the deal I mocked was a little rich for my blood, but given what GMs are paying for other players, it might not be too crazy to think about now. But
What was
um,
it?
as a guy who's getting paid 28 years old and he's getting like 5 years at 7.25, like that's perfect. That's
Yeah,
perfect for the Bruins.
it's a hell of a deal.
So like yeah, that is a need that they definitely need. And hey, who's to say that who's to say like they don't trade this pick? Like who's to say that like, I obviously would love another prospect to, watch in the minors and whatnot. But what if they take a forward and then it's like later down the road they say, okay, we'll package you and then we get a right shot defenseman. Like Simon Nemec just went for a kind of package like that. That would have been a great ideal thing
Yeah.
to have.
Yeah, that Simon Nemec trade was I forgot that one was nuts too, honestly. It was like a lot. I think they weren't like they're because Calgary acquired him, right? And it wasn't their own first round picks because that would be fucking wild. But
Yeah.
Still, like two firsts? That's insane.
I mean, hey,
And,
it's a
and
former second overall pick. That commands, man.
but it's like it seemed like they if you're New Jersey, like you do that all day because I don't think he's necessarily like shown. I could be wrong. Again, I've seen some. I'll see these stat sheets, and I don't just take that as what that player is worth. But it seems what I had heard too was it seemed like he's not the first guy to the puck. Like he's not a guy who's like a do it all defenseman where it's like, all right, he's gonna retrieve it and he's gonna either skate it or bring it to your forward. It seemed like he's more of like the fourth forward where he's jumping into the offense, trying to score, and it's like those guys are useful. But I'd rather a guy like, Slavin, what he's done over his career, or Duncan Keith. Like I think that's like my ideal kind of defenseman. Or Werenski. I mean, he would be an incredible addition as well.
Yeah, he's a guy who literally just, or it was reported that they're after the draft, they're gonna talk and evaluate. Like it's crazy. A Norris Trophy winner who's finally almost figuring it out, getting his I like saying it like the soccer teams do, the boyhood club. Like he's getting his boyhood club or trying to the playoffs. And you're gonna talk about the future now. Like it's just insane to me to think about that. But
Yeah,
McAvoy and him look pretty comfortable together. So fingers crossed there. That's
no,
all I'm gonna say,
that
guys.
would be incredible. But I wonder what the hell that would cost coming
Oh
off of
man.
Norris. But who
Right.
imagine if he just was like, yeah, send me to Boston. That's where I want to go.
That would go in the Bruins' favor in
Yeah,
terms of the package. But
yeah.
you just have to Sweeney, I have to say, like Sweeney's talked about it too. He was like, he omitted the conversation of taxes and he was saying Boston's a desirable place to play. It's a desirable spot to go. And I'm just like looking for one of these players to just be like, yeah, just send me there. Like I'm waiting for it to pop up because this offseason at least, you're not seeing it at all.
No, what would be your like did you have any other moves with that with Hronik or was it kind of just that?
So like aside from my mock off season, which I feel like would completely change given how much movement there is, I have people in my comments saying, "Draisaitl, dude, are you kidding me?" I'm like the United States could win the World Cup, guys. Anything is possible. No, I'm just playing. But
Well, it's possible, man, not the World Cup. But
well,
you
what
know,
I'm
right?
saying is like, I saw a report out of the Tennessean who covers the Nashville Predators. I think it's
I was
Alex
just
Dar.
gonna ask you about this too.
Yeah, Alex Doherty just reported this out of the Tennessean. He covers the Nashville Predators, and he goes, McFarland doesn't know any of these Predators players. Like he could just trade them. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like they have something there, but okay, if they're gonna, he like suggested it, and that kind of like gets the ball rolling where you wonder. I've always loved Philip Forsberg. Is that the left wing that could be, on David Pastrnak's right, an experienced guy who kind of plays to pass his tempo? Is Roman Yossi a veteran defenseman who, could like that's would be an insane deal to have,
Could you imagine getting both of them?
which
Oh,
would be great. I don't know how that looks, but what I'm saying is anything is considerable. I think in this day's NHL, with the cap going up, with these players kind of taking command and like taking the wheel and saying, I don't want to be here anymore, put me here. Or these GMs now just saying, these aren't my guys. I'm just going to, like, McFarland just traded for Jack Drury, who was an
yeah,
RFA with the Avalanche. She's like, bring my guy in. Like, everyone's just doing whatever. So let's have fun with the content, man.
for
But
sure.
no,
Absolutely.
Forsberg would be a dream Bruins acquisition there.
I love him. I also love Yossi, and obviously that would just be absurd, but I've always loved Yossi's game. Um, but yeah, it is kind of exciting. Like a lot of people are hating on it, and obviously the Bruins aren't like the front-facing beneficiaries of where this NHL is going. But I don't know. I just think you can't really like hate or fight change. Like this is just kind of probably something that is just should have been happening for years. The NHL is just really traditionalist, and for some reason, there's this like expectation of one-sided loyalty as well, where teams can toss you out, but you owe your whole career to your shitty franchise that drafted you just because you're their only good player. And you just see a lot of guys waste away, on bad teams. And if a guy doesn't want to leave, then he doesn't want to leave. But I think there's a lot of guys who are just really competitive and they realize like I'm never going to win a cup because my organization's a joke. And so for that reason, I'm happy that there's this movement and, guys are taking more control.
And you also have to think the caveat of that in the Bruins perspective is I just really wonder where David Pastrnak's looking on his phone, like, and I'm not trying to like cause any panic or anything, but I just wonder, because these guys they all see everything that's happening, and you can only think just like how long before he really just like gets the pinch and he's like, all right, like what are we doing here right now? Like can we get me some help or am I gonna have to request a trade like the rest of these guys? Like that's the big, I think, worry that rightfully so, a lot of Bruins fans are kind of like, you're not getting pasta help. What's going on? Like you want to see that for him because he's stuck it out with the Bruins his whole career and he's had some great triumphs. But especially in the recent side of things, as the guy, he's been seeing some lows as well. So you only hope that they can get him some help because he like every defense is they focus on him. It's obvious to do, and it works. That's why he gets so like worn down at times. I feel like he'll get worn down at times. It's just like you can't let that frustration like get into a rolling boil. Like you don't want the water to get into a rolling boil here.
Yeah. And I will even add to that and just say like, okay, that's definitely true. And it'd be one thing if they were kind of like taking, like they missed the playoffs and maybe they were expecting one more year to miss the playoffs, but they were developing all this talent. It's like they're kind of in this spot where it's like they're still trying to compete. And that's where it's frustrating when I even look at like a guy like Swayman and similar to Pasternak, but Swayman just got so much shit about his deal. And now he is like the only reason that team is even has a chance in a playoff series. You know what I mean? Like Cam Neely kind of called him out in that press conference. Oh, he's got 64 million reasons to be a Bruin, and then it came out like you didn't even offer them that yet. Like the agent came out after it was like you guys never offered that deal. And now they're fucking, praying that he plays incredible to get them playoff tickets they can sell. And Pasternak, it's like, again, to your point, it's just like, all right, then you go into the playoffs and it's like everyone wants to win. He wants to win so bad. But you're just not in a spot to get any further. So it's kind of like this losing uphill battle that Pasternak is going to face, last season in the playoffs, where it's like, even if they scraped out Buffalo, like they probably weren't going to get through Montreal or Carolina would have whooped their ass. So it's just kind of tough being in the middle. Like this episode should just be called Marcus in the middle.
It would have been great for the rivalry to have Montreal and the Bruins play at some point, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping for. Jake, were you gonna say something?
No, I was just laughing at Mike.
Ah, no, but yeah, it is a very interesting spot, but I think that's the biggest thing you have to look at for the Bruins going forward is like you you need that secondary skill. You need that secondary scoring option. You need the secondary scoring period. And I remember seeing all the debut graphics that the Bruins were doing, like, oh, it's this guy's debut, this guy. And I'm like, wow, we really turned a new leaf here. Like I just remember seeing all these players that just have never played in the Stanley Cup playoffs before. And I was like, oh, it's like that now. Like it just kind of that's when it hit me where I was like, oh, the Bruins are really gonna need to, do something about that. Like it's great that some of these guys are getting their first playoff, experience, but I was like, whoa.
Yeah. It is tough though, like with everything we're talking about, and obviously we're on the same page. Like it's frustrating where they're at a little bit. Um, and it's hard because it's like at the same time they like not long ago at all did what they did at that deadline to the point where it was like we all agreed with it. We felt like they needed to do that. And then you go out and obviously there's some criticisms about like the fact that they made the playoffs, but I think we've all talked about this where it's like I'm kind of happy they did. Like we all probably watch about every game, and when you do that, and like we're happy they weren't like the worst team in the league, even though maybe that would have been smarter. But if they did that, like, what would they have had to do? It would have just been like put out some joke of a roster, to still not help Pasternak and those guys. But like, they traded all those guys and then they came out this year and we're in such a good spot. So I just kind of want to like, I think we've probably talked about everything we can, and I kind of want to wrap it in like a positive bow because I do think where the Bruins are at, they have more assets than we probably, would have, just we were in a spot pretty recently where they didn't have much future prospects at all. And they do now. And I think we're all excited about Hagen's and this draft. They have a ton of picks outside of the first mostly. But and their guys are still in their prime. They just the trade market's tough and we'll see. It just might be another year where we go into it and they're kind of sitting in that ready mode, waiting to see if a trade happens and if a trade works out for them instead of being like aggressive and making a move now just to make a move. Because I don't know, Washington ain't winning the cup, if you ask me personally. Like they added some good players. They'll be better. They'll make the playoffs because they didn't in a shitty division last year. But they're not going out and winning a cup. So for the Bruins to just try to do that for the sake of it, I think is the wrong move. So maybe patience here is a virtue and just like, what we've talked about, take some more gambles. Go for some skill guys and stop trying to be safe and pick Patrice Bergeron with every selection in the draft that you have, you know? But yeah, anything else from any of you guys?
I was just gonna say real quick to like wrap it. What you hope is just that Pasta doesn't walk into Sweeney's office with that mindset of leaving, and that he can, as long as he kind of sees the vision and there's eye to eye between the players and the front office, like moving forward, they can just kind of like gradually build up. For me, like coming into the offseason, I want to at least see like one move where it's like, okay, here's a new guy who adds to the kind of outer core of the big three that you have on this team, where you say, okay, here's an added guy, here's someone who's here long term. And I think that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a player who is going to come in and kind of be there when they hopefully triumph. I don't think that a Stanley Cup's going to happen like next year. I think if you're the Bruins and you truly trust the process, it's something that kind of is going to culminate if they do play their cards right towards the end of the decade or maybe even like the early 2030s. It's like that's for me where it's like if you trust the process and you get a cup for Pasta by the end of his career, hallelujah. But definitely make sure you see eye to eye and hope that Pasternak's okay with where things at.
Yeah. Yeah. And, find a guy in 20 to 27, right? Like that age bracket, Maverick Bork. Like maybe you can just find like kind of what's they found in Stankoven. Like you can find one of these forwards or geeky.
Oh, and Tippett.
Yeah, like maybe some guy just to infuse into that group to bring some more offense because God knows that was a problem. And so was their defending. There was a lot of problems, right? Like hockey is such a fluid game that you kind of just need to be a better team overall. But maybe they will, Marcus, still. Like, we don't know. There's a ton of things that are out there that are possible. Obviously, the bigger names, those come with more risk because you're going to trade more. And there's just so many teams competing. So it's the a couple I saw you keep posting like every time someone is scratched off your list. So I definitely feel that.
It
But yeah,
hurts.
I don't know, Jake or JB, is there any other points or thoughts you guys had?
I'm all set.
Yeah, same here. I think it was a good mix of everything. Just hope the Bruins can figure it out.
I know. What's our predictions? Let's make some predictions here. And we'll obviously do this again. But like for uh for the draft, you guys think they're gonna trade the pick or you think they're gonna make the pick?
I think they're gonna make the pick. Yeah, I think they have their eye on someone or maybe a couple people, and maybe if that person's not there, then they move it. But
Yeah.
Mm.
yeah, Marcus has got a look on his face.
I mean, for me, like I was seeing all this movement. My initial thing was always, oh, if they can like get one of these guys out of another situation, I mean, put the 23 in a package. But I'm not opposed to making the pick either. If dream scenario, Villeneuve falls. Villeneuve falls, and the Bruins get him. You have him in your backyard. He
Might as well.
literally he has compared himself to Lane Hudson. He grew up a Bruins fan. I think that just ideally is a great player you could put into your system. And BU's had a ton of players come through there that have that similar sort of offensive defenseman style that Jay Pandolfo has, built up. And of course, I'm gonna be biased about this at the moment, but yeah, I'd love to see Villeneuve, wearing a spoke to be. I also wouldn't be mad if they took a, forward like Hermansen or, one of the Ruck twins or, the kid from Cayman Islands in Cover. So either or.
I hear you got to get both Ruck twins.
Let's get both. Why not? Why not? Do whatever. Do
Yeah,
whatever.
you can't get one without the other. They're like attached at the hip.
Easily.
Yeah. What was the other prediction? They can make the playoffs. Looking at that Atlantic Division, what do you guys think?
I think they do.
Yeah, let's be hopeful. Let's be hopeful, huh?
They're gonna have to do what they did last year, looking at the current roster. But I mean, I don't know if I want to answer that until free agency hits and we kind of get if the dust settles, because it's a storm in the NHL right now. There's still so many moves that we don't even know what's gonna happen. So
It's Hurricane Stanley.
it is the Hurricanes literally created a dust storm around North America, man.
It's fine.
Nice going, Tulski. Jeez.
Yeah, that guy's insane, dude. What they've done and the fact he looks like just what he looks like is crazy. But yeah, all right, sweet. Well, thanks for coming on again, Marcus. It was awesome talking to you. As usual, we'll have to do it again. Maybe I don't know, maybe when we're getting the itch to talk bees again. We'll do it.
God bless you guys. I'm always honored to be on What's Gross.
Appreciate it,
But
brother.
that's gross.
Hey, it's just gross. Gross hockey pod. Whatever.
And I'm somewhere I'm living remote. And the beach is a private beach. Got a cat that he came with a boat. One more time, let me hear you. How the fuck I'm bored? I've been cooking on the yacht. How the fuck I torn? It's a movie every style. I could barely walk. I got Uzi on the dock. I stay 10 toes. I got Gucci on my socks. Someone make it stop.